Hello my friends, we have lots of the news for today. Let's start from this one. Russia lost this giant airplane, Antonov 22, a heavy military transport aircraft with 196 military transport aviation regiment of the Russian Federation. It crashed in the city of Ivanovo, Russia. Officials already confirmed that all of the 7 crew members on board are perished. And the Russian military bloggers affiliated with the Russian Air Force, they confirmed the loss for the Russian army. Antonov 22, it's kind of rare but very capable transport airplane. Actually, it's the biggest turboprop cargo airplane in the world that is still flying. Russia has maybe 2 more of those. By the way, Ukraine also had the one. It is parked in Gostomel airport still. Those are the fresh images you can see after the Russian strike. Several of the airplanes are gone, but this is Antonov 22, Ante. It is also the name of this one. It was damaged, as you can see. Yeah, I went to Gostomel airport and I filmed this particular aircraft as well. The video is available on my channel. After Russians went out from Gostomel, I visited the place and filmed what happened there. All of the damages down to the airplanes parked, and not only. The operator Starsky organized this visit. It was hard to watch as for me as for aviator, but it was also interesting to see what was left after Russians left. Well, yesterday there was one more mishap happened to the Russian aviation. The ejection system accidentally went into operation. By the time one of the Russian fighter bombers was parked in the hangar, so it is understandable what happened to pilot and navigator. Yes, they are no-go and will not fly any longer. This video from the Hitman game, I guess it's from Hitman, illustrates what happened there. Well, I don't think they've flown that high. I think Ruf, after all, did his job stopping Russian travelers at some certain altitude. And here we have some of the good news for Ukrainian military. Poland's general staff confirms talks with the Ukraine are underway to transfer MiG-29 jets. Before, Poland transferred several of those fighter jets together with Slovakia, by the way. Now, Fico would never ever give Ukraine those fighter jets, but from Poland, Ukraine may obtain those because even Poland understands that Ukraine is the shield of Europe. It needs the airplanes. The aircraft are being phased out due to reaching their service limits and no plans for upgrades. The nation would support Ukraine and strengthen NATO's eastern flank. In exchange, Poland seeks access to Ukrainian drone and missile tech to boost joint defense and industrial capabilities. Yes, because Poland was not capable to shut down most of the drones which Russia sent to Polish airspace. With the Ukrainian drone technologies, it is possible. Well, I'm not saying that NATO countries doing absolutely nothing about the drones. Here they experiment with the drone swarms. For example, this is what's the name of the company? It's called Auterion. United States and I guess Switzerland, common production of those drones. You see, those drones, they attack those dummies of the tanks. Boom, boom, boom. Very interesting. I think it's inflated model of T-80 tank, something like that. And if those drones carried some of the explosives, it could be a multiple big kaboom. Of course, the tank would not survive it. So yeah, they're doing something. They're not staying at the same place. It is understandable that the war had changed and soon every army will have lots of the drones, but still Russia has way more of those, as well as Ukraine, by the way. And Russia and Ukraine, they have the real military experience, how to use the drones on the front lines, how to operate with them, how to make the system, including supplies, work properly. Also drone production and also training of the drone pilots. By the way, about the training, I found out very good Ukrainian simulator for the drone flights. It's available on Steam. I'm gonna put the link in the video description just below. The release date for me, it is tomorrow, but I already tested this one today on my live stream on my another channel. This simulator is definitely rules. It is fantastic. It has training mode, it has a battle mode, so my recommendation to get this one, especially then they will upload more missions, more updates. And guys, it's not the paid promotion. Yes, I was contacted by this company, but they didn't pay me anything. They just told me, Dennis, if you wish, you may try it out and tell on your channel if you're willing to. They do not tell me anything else. I just obtained their code. I have the controller over here, which I use. It's TBS Tango 2. I also tried to connect my PS5 controller, but it didn't work. Maybe I have some issues with my PC, who knows, with software. But TBS worked well because maybe it's optimized. It's over here, TBS Tango 2. I flown the simulators, FPV drone simulators 2 years ago, and now I found very good sim for improving the skills, and also it's entertaining, especially flying some of the missions. It's entertaining and it's improving the skills. So I'm gonna put the stream cut at the very end. Yeah, some of the cuts from my stream that lasted 3 with something hours. And you will check out how it looks. Yes, the graphics is not like in the best ever games, but still it's acceptable. The very important thing is physics of the story. It works fantastic. The only thing is I don't know the price of the game because it's not yet been released and I didn't ask for that information, so it's gonna be updated tomorrow. It has single player, it's planned also as online co-op, and for now multiplayer I think it's not available on initial stage, but we'll see. Xbox controller is supported as well as PlayStation controller. So far it's the best and the most realistic drone simulator I have ever flown and used. And also it's a Ukrainian one that is used for the training. 5,000 pilots at least have already made it through this initial stage simulator training using this sim. Now to some of the real drone images. This surveillance drone, Ukrainian one, was capable to spot how Russians start to surrender to Ukrainians. This is Zaporizhia direction. Totally 6 of the Russian troops surrendered to 2 of the Ukrainian soldiers. They were divided into 2 groups and later on moved to Ukrainian positions. That's probably the safest way of how they could reach Ukrainian positions without being flatlined. And this particular Russian says that his goal was to propel forward with a Russian flag, to show it to the Russian drone, and that's it. That was his main mission. And also he understood that the place where they go, it is not being cleared from Ukrainian forces, and they were met there. Some of them were flatlined and several were hiding and later on imprisoned by Ukrainian army. They're very, very lucky. Because, for example, this guy, yes, he showed the Russian flag in Ostapivka village, but later on, in attempt to go back to Russian positions, was flatlined or cancelled. What word should I use for this particular term? But the local commanders of the Russian army who sent this soldier to that village without any sort of the backup or whatsoever, they might tell to the higher command that they captured the village, and Gerasimov will draw more stuff on the map showing it to Putin, and Putin will be very, very happy that the flaggers or flagmen are very successful on the front lines. Yeah, in some of the areas of the front lines, Russians definitely move, but in Zaporizhia region, it's mostly the flag operation, except, I would say, Hulai-Pole. In Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, they move very slowly, and all of their attempts to go to Shakhove are now cancelled by Ukraine or being cancelled by Ukraine. Konstantinivka, they bogged down. And in Kupiansk, it's a disaster situation actually for Russia. They're partially trapped, and according to the most recent information coming, I hope to cross-check it and to definitely confirm, it seems like Ukrainian army deoccupied or liberated Moskovka. Yeah, just for information, once again, Putin already proclaimed that Russia occupied Kupiansk fully. Long time ago, he said, in the beginning of November. Now it's almost the end of the year, and you see Kupiansk is just partially under Russian control, just the northern part. Why Russia is so slow here? Because the logistics connection is terrible for them. They cannot propel forward with major forces. They cannot even maintain their current forces, especially this part. That's the very terrible situations for Russians there, and the Russian military bloggers themselves, they're saying that Kupiansk is far from being fully taken by Russian army. I wonder what happened in Shakhove. Oh, those are just Russian losses in the ditch. Yeah, they tried to move, but every freaking meter there is someone lying and smelling. Just for this jump from August this year, Russia lost 2,000 of the infantry forces, and they continued their attacks. They lost, now it's more than 80 of the armored vehicles in attempt to get Shahova under control. They're partially went there with infantry, but were exited out by Ukrainian drones. And still they have attempts, and you see how Ukrainian army is very active here. The similar stuff is actually going in Pokrovsk itself. Yeah, Mirnograd situation for Ukraine is not good. I already told you about this encirclement. Yeah, Ukrainian army will withdraw the forces from this area, but unfortunately with losses. And at least our guys went from Suhy Yar, from Novopavlivsk. I was afraid for those settlements because in Avdiivka there were small settlements which were fully encircled by Russia back in 2024. And here Russians still cannot take Mirnograd and Pokrovsk fully. Their presence is here, but also there is the presence of Ukrainian army in Pokrovsk itself. Also there is some sort of the assault operation. Is it new? Yeah, that was actually a Russian attack, but our soldiers repelled it. Okay. That's something new. Yeah, I cannot show you this image fully, but Russians were cancelled. They thought they took this building, but Ukraine had the different thought about it. But the Russian politician management, they also proclaimed that they took Pokrovsk long time ago. Together with Mirnograd, they encircled thousands of Ukrainian forces there. Yeah, that's the open lies and Russian propaganda coming from the very top and disperse all around X platform, Telegram, Facebook, YouTube even. Yeah, they're working like that, so thank you for following me, because I try to give the information as it is on the ground. Yeah, I'm also using other analytics, like for example, my Kursk map is awesome. For today we don't have lots of the updates, but you may check out my recent video, the previous one from yesterday, where I told you a lot about the current picture on the front lines. In this video I'm not gonna concentrate on that one too much. Alright, this is the very important information that was shared to Financial Times by the European security officials who said that Russia was preparing sabotage attacks using commercial aviation, and those attacks were aimed for United States soil. Those could be the biggest one after 9/11. Yes, they were planned in 2024. Now with Donald Trump, maybe Russia changed its minds, but some of the DHL parcels have exploded on territory of United Kingdom, Poland and Germany already. And the plan was definitely to expand it for United States of America using aviation in this case. Guys, this is just outrageous. It really shows that Russia is not a friend of the United States. Absolutely. Well, maybe Russians are friends with Donald Trump personally because Putin likes to manipulate Donny. But the sabotage attacks, they were happening a lot on territory of EU. And the same people are responsible for planning attacks on United States. The source says that Russia already hired some people for that mission, people who had the right to stay in Schengen area without any sort of the visa, so probably citizens of EU even were involved, and they were already looking through this plan, but the details of their operation were leaked, and some of them were even detained, as well as explosives. So maybe because after all Europe feels this pressure from Russia with all of those actual attacks, provocations, drones, airplanes flying and the full-scale war on territory of Europe, well, European Union finally starts to think about confiscation of the Russian assets more vividly, I might say. There is the probability that this week or the next one there could be a confiscation of the Russian assets, at least partially. Well, Germany said that it is for guarantees for Belgium in case Russia wins the international court against the Belgian banks. So finally, even for those stupid brains of bureaucrats, it's understandable that they should do something to help Ukraine to withstand the Russian aggression. Otherwise, the Russian aggression could go to NATO countries of Europe. And you know, it seems like it is very painful for Russia. Europe found this vulnerability spot for Putin's regime, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned that any action taken against Russian assets will not go unanswered and would bring serious consequences. Moscow draws its red lines, and Medvedev even warned Europe for potential casus belli, so the start of the war in case of this confiscation and using Russian assets for helping Ukrainian military. Well, in this case, it would definitely help Ukraine. Ukraine will not be dependent on those bureaucrats for some period of time, at least for a couple of years. If we speak about 120 billion euros, which could potentially be confiscated, it would be more or less okay to maintain Ukrainian defense capabilities for that period of time. Not offense, not taking back territories, no, just defense. If you compare those numbers with the Russian military budget, well, even for a single year, Russia invests way more into its military compared to even those frozen Russian assets, which could be confiscated very soon, and I just hope that it will happen like that, because, those bureaucrats, they should finally awake. What is happening? Is the threat for them personally also. Well, maybe not for them in particular, but for their countries and for their banks, 100%. And we have this small breakthrough after Zelensky's meeting with European leaders of Chancellor Merz, Starmer from UK, and Macron. By the way, France doesn't want to confiscate private Russian assets, and there could be 12 billion euros. So Macron says, we don't know, maybe we should not take those funds. So you see, those bureaucrats, politicians, they all take care about money, not safety. Safety for them is somewhere there. But the good thing, like the outcome of the meeting, that Zelensky is reassured that Europe will continue to support Ukrainian military in one or other way, and also European countries will continue to participate in the Pearl program. There was the news that Italy is not in a Pearl program any longer, but it wasn't in that program before. They considered to join, but 1 week ago they decided, no, it's better not to join. But it doesn't mean that Italy doesn't support Ukraine with its military. They will continue to send armored vehicles. That is what they delivered to Ukraine, quite a lot of vehicles this year. And Zelensky personally, he says that he is sure that the United States will continue to sell its weapons to European countries because it's simply profitable for Donald Trump. So he openly says like that. Donny, you need to at least sell your weapons. And I think Donny will sell weapons, will continue to do it, because many of the weapon production companies, they're also the sponsors of Republican Party and of Donald Trump personally. So as for the Pearl, I give 95% that it will continue. So Donald Trump really has nothing to offer, both for Russia and for Ukraine, with his negotiation attempts. Just a couple of days ago, Kushner and Vitkov, they called to Zelensky, telling him to accept the deal. And after the meeting with the Europeans, Zelensky said, no, never ever Ukraine will accept just giving as a present its own territories to Russia. After what Russia has done, and basically America is now encouraging the aggressor. Donald Trump, with his so-called peace efforts, he is now fully supporting Russian agenda. Literally all of the points of Russia has been supported, including elections in Ukraine. By the way, Zelensky said that probably, maybe, there is a variant for conducting those elections. Zelensky says that he needs some help with that from European partners and from the United States. I don't know how they could be involved, but that is what he says. And also he needs to check out from the legal perspective if it is possible to conduct. Well, as for me, elections should not be done, because it will create this internal instability of Ukraine. That's the main goal of Russia. They want to dismiss Ukrainian government, and also with elections coming, it's like a small revolution, any sort of the elections. Yeah, you know it, especially if you live in the United States of America. What is happening before elections, during elections, complete madness, yeah? And we don't need this madness happening in Ukraine by the time that there is a war against this prevailing enemy. But Donald Trump doesn't care. He says that Zelensky is using the war to stay in power. So clearly, Russian agenda, Russian propaganda from the mouth of the United States president. It has never been done like that. It's a shame that America is pushing a victim of aggression just to give up give up fighting. It is even worse than agreement with Hitler, because by the time Hitler didn't kaput millions of people, then he was allowed to have the part of Czechoslovakia. So it's worst behavior ever. But we see it is happening, surreal, but we live in this timeline. Then America is not ally any longer. It is playing almost fully on the Russian side, and if there were no sponsors of Donald Trump personally from the military production sector of the United States, Donald Trump would cancel even the plural support for Ukraine. Yeah, Trump's peace deals are already unraveling. Yes, actually Zelensky said that there are 3 variants of this peace deal. I would say even more, like original Russian plan that was proposed by Vitkov, and then the second one that was changed, lowered, then the third one that was changed by Russia, and the fourth one which is done by Europe in coordination with Ukraine. And as Zelensky says, this European plan will be sent to United States officially in the coming days. So all of that is just a continuous dance around Donald Trump, and it will go maybe till the end of the term of the United States president. And all of that is just dancing around Donald Trump because he is a president of the United States of America. Zelensky cannot say, go fuck yourself, Donny. No, still because America sells its weapons to Ukraine, it provides intelligence information, so Ukraine needs that, actually. But the leverage on Ukraine is very, very tiny of Donny. If he had supplied lots of the weapons to Ukraine, everything possible, then he might have really had the power to say what Ukraine should do. But even in that case, Ukraine has constitution, and no any country will give up its territory just like that to aggressor state. This is crazy, unhinged, and Donny, he lives in his wonderland. He wants to make business with Russia. ExxonMobil is already working with Russia behind the curtains for the deals in Arctic. It's already evident. The information about it also was leaked in the press. And also, there are no any security guarantees promised for Ukraine. Absolutely zero. Donald Trump is pushing this deal. You need to sign it tomorrow. Sign it today. Yeah, we need this paper. But what is behind that paper? America? What kind of the guarantees? I think the United States are distancing themselves even from NATO, if we may check the national security program of the United States recently published. It is just crazy. Russian brochure that is posted and signed by Donald Trump. I'm sure he hadn't read that. Absolutely. Well, if he read and he support all of that, it is even worse. Donald Trump is so incompetent. He's an idiot, and his circle are crazy people around. Those are terrible times we live in, guys, because in parallel we have the threat coming from Russia, from China. Yeah, it's not good. And this is what is happening. Then Donald Trump stops the wars, as he says. Yeah, there is a hot stage of the war between Thailand and Cambodia ongoing. By the way, those are Ukrainian tanks T-84 Oplot, which were supplied to the Thailand army before. So Trump may easily cut one war which he stopped from his long list. In fact, he personally was involved in just some sort of the negotiating with Israel to cease the hostiles in Gaza. But that conflict is also far to be over, and there were lots of the bombs and shootings happening after Donny's visit to Tel Aviv and saying that I stopped this thousands of years war here. No. Donny is just incompetent narcissist who says unreal things just because he wants to. Nothing he stopped, absolutely nothing. And Ukraine shouldn't trust him. Any sort of the security guarantees are not acceptable from the United States unless they are in the law of the United States, approved by Congress, by Senate. It shouldn't be just a promise of Donny, because he is not a master of his own words. Yeah, by the way, Cambodia sends its T-55 tanks to the border. Not too fancy compared to Ukrainian-made Oplot tanks, But still they have some of the military, at least something, some of the tanks. T-55 is a really ancient one. And Putin again says that they gonna continue the special military operation, that they gonna reach the goals, every sort of the goals of the operation, and they gonna connect the entire Donbass to Russia, because historically it was Russia, and it was just Lenin who connected Donbass to Ukraine whatsoever. Like he lives in his sick world, yeah, his sick fantasy. He's telling about all of those Russian tsars and how Russia should return its lands, like literally he's speaking about it. It's not about Donbass only. Putin's goal is way wider than that. He wants to restore Russian Empire or Soviet Union whatsoever, and Kushner, Witkov, they do not understand that. Donny also. They are blind, they are deaf, and they allow Putin to continue his special military operation, and provocations against Europe, yes, they will intensify. Well guys, those were the main news and events for today, and at the very end, again, I'm gonna share some of the cuts from my stream. Could be a little cringy, but just for you to understand how this drone simulator looks like. Again, it's not the paid sponsorship, I receive absolutely nothing for it, just interested in that, just to recall the skills and to train. It's a good one, really good. If you have this opportunity, you may check it out, but I recommend to use the special drone controller which is listed to that game. You may check it out yourself on the Steam. And also guys, you may support my job yourself. As you see, I don't have like sponsors, just what I like I may tell about, but they do not support the channel, only you do via Patreon and membership of the channel. Thank you so much for it. The link for my Patreon is just in the video description below. If you don't have this opportunity, press like to this video and also subscribe for the channel to boost this video in YouTube algorithms. Thank you so much. Well guys, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time. I have the cumulative shell, but also could work against this guy. Okay, we see BTR again. They're landing from it. Boom. I forgot to arm the bomb. Oh my god. I forgot to arm the bomb. It's already waiting. They'll start to run, you see? They're running. Artillery. Ah, two guys are coming from that spot. The vehicle, but those are more important for me. Ah, yeah, two. Arm the bomb. Motorcyclist is running. Boom. Motorcycle is gone, but not the guy. Oh my god.